Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, and as you know, I go out and explore heritage, landscape and nature. And you may remember a few days ago, I went off to my hometown of Horsham, where I went to school and was pretty much brought up until the age of 18. And there I had a look at my old house and the road that I used to live in and the fields of the farm that used to be at the back of my house. And if you watch the video, you'll know that I was quite heartbroken when I noticed that there was a lot of building work had been going on. Over the last 10 years, I think, the new builds had increased and encroached and, as I said, had stolen my childhood. And this, of course, has been happening up and down the country all over. There is a land grab, if you like, and a lot of heritage, a lot of our landscape is transforming at a huge rate. Well, this video, it seems, even though it's 48, maybe more now, hours since it went out, had a lot of interest and a lot of comments. And I thought it would be nice to share just some of those comments because it really touched me. So here, for example, is one such comment.
I so agree with you, Richard. I moved to Southwater in 2002, before all the new development had even started. Not sure when Berkeley Homes first started building on the farmland you knew as a boy. However, it has developed gradually over the last 15 years, and sadly is still ongoing. We have the same in Southwater. The trust that owns the farmland adjacent to Worthing Road, and has had the same tenant family farming there for over 200 years, slowly lost half the farm, with the other half being taken away from them in October 2020. Although we do have village shops, our local Boots and Co-op just manage with the existing population. How will they cope with another 700 to 1,000 more homes doesn't bear thinking about.
So you can see, other people are equally affected by this. And it is heartbreaking to think that the population is expanding so much that we need all this housing. And what got me particularly about that housing estate were two things. One, there were these signs on, and I didn't show this in the video, there were signs all over the place saying that you couldn't park on the road. Everybody had to park in special bays allotted to them. And it made me think, well, because there was £100 fine, by the way. And I just thought, well, what if you have friends round, or if at Christmas, as Christmas is coming as I record this, you have family round and you've only got one bay. Surely people don't only just have one car. That was one thing. The other thing is I looked around and this false history that had been planted or supplanted in the place. This was farmland. It had always been farmland for hundreds of years, for generations. And there they had built this new style of building that made it look like it was an ex-industrial estate with a mill and a tannery and a maltings. But actually you look at it and it was more like a theme park, as somebody actually commented. Here's a few more comments that people had made on the video.
Back in the early 80s, Jack Hargreaves, who presented Out of Town on TV, said that one day we could all find ourselves living in the City of England whilst addressing the same subject as in your own video. It's happening here in Shrewsbury. Seems to be building houses on any bit of land they can find. These new estates seem devoid of any real character and any sense of community. Progress? Not in my book. Great video.
So there we are. There's more people who think that this is a tragedy. And it is a tragedy that the land is being built. And I ask myself, where are the people coming from? And in the comments, quite rightly, people were saying that, well, it's not just the fact that it's population growth, but actually we have a lot of people coming into the country, more than we probably need. And a lot of these people are aiming for the cities and the large towns, and they're coming from all over the world. We've had this policy of relatively open door to people coming into this country. Now, the downside of that is when you get people flooding into an area in a very quick succession, in a very timely speed, you have this problem where then people who have been there for years and years, for generations perhaps, start to feel like John Cleese said about London, that it no longer felt like London anymore, and that people don't feel at home because there's people who speak different languages, who have different cultures, have different beliefs. They go to a different type of church. They dress drastically different. And people who've been in a certain place for a length of time no longer feel comfortable there. The change has been too swift. And I think what has been going on is those people have subsequently left that area, and then they're looking for places like this place in Horsham that I went to, these new builds, because they can sell their place if they're in a big city and get the money, particularly in London, and they can come down to these more expensive apartments, but they're in with people who are like them. And it is a fact that human nature is that we do generally like to be with people who are like us, so that we can converse in the same language. We have a shared tradition. We have shared reference points in history. We laugh at the same sort of things. And that's very important for a community. I think the diversity that we've been forced down, that really nobody's actually voted for this diversity, is not always working. Perhaps in a few more generations it will, but at the moment the speed of this change has been a lot harder for many people to accept, and I confess I'm one of them, because I'm of a certain age. I think younger millennials who are growing up in this busy environment of change and different cultures, they're finding it much easier to deal with. But it's relevant for all of us. Here's a few more comments from the video that we had.
I don't blame the immigrants in the least. Can't blame people responding to an invitation. It is immigration policy that is the problem. And yet, if any politician dares suggest that there may be a connection between the fact that 8 million migrants have been allowed into the country since Blair took office and the need for new housing, demand on the NHS, schools, transport, crime figures or welfare benefit spending, they are duly labelled a hater. And yet polls show that at least 70% of us, Joe Public, can see the obvious connections to be made. The fields where I used to play as a child are now under the M25. I understand the need for roads to bypass the towns and cities, but seeing so much beautiful countryside disappear under tarmac makes me sad. I recently returned to the lovely estate where my parents rented a cottage, only to find it all gone. No more fields, stream, barns, orchard. It was simply lovely in the day, with flowering trees, hedges of red roses, endless fields, everything a child could wish for, all gone, and, in its place, sprawling, dodgy houses.
So there you can see people are worried, and I think people should be listened to. It's not that we don't like change and we don't really want people coming into this country, but it's the speed of change and the speed of this land grab, the amount of houses that are suddenly being built. I know for a fact that here in Worthing, where I live, in my Victorian terrace, at one point this whole area was farmland. Again, it was fields, it was open country. And I'm sure that when in the 1940s to the 1990s, the 1840s to the 1890s, when there was a huge amount of Victorian building going along, people were probably in the same boat going, oh my goodness, look at this, this is awful, isn't it? And it's true, the Victorians built on a huge scale. But what they did do is they did lots of things for the community. They put in a pub, they put in schools, they put in shops, corner shops, bigger shops, they put in the infrastructure. They actually put into the community those bare bones that people needed. They even built churches, for goodness sake. These new builds, they just build the houses, and now you can't even park on the road. Well, I just wanted to add something to that video because it had gone down very well and the response was fantastic. I hadn't expected that. So thank you very much for everybody who's commented. It's fascinating. If you have a contrary opinion, I'm happy, more than happy, to listen to those contrary opinions. Of course, I think you have to listen to everybody. It's when you lose the argument when you start name calling. I was called a bigot or a racist on the back of this, But as soon as you name call, you haven't stated an argument. And in my opinion, if you can't state an argument and all you can do is throw bad names at people, you've lost the argument. So I'm happy to engage and listen to other people's points of view, because after all, we can all have a difference of opinion and still be friends. Anyway, I shall be out and about looking at heritage, landscape and nature and showing off this wonderful and beautiful land. I'm so proud to be an Englishman. I love this country and we've had such wonderful things to show off, and I want to show them to you before they're all gobbled up and gone. Till next time, bye-bye.